Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen.
So, big question for this week is if you could not trade places with anyone in the world, who would it be? And I got to admit that this was a really difficult one for me to figure out because originally I was going to say, if you could trade places with anyone, who would it be? And I wanted to put a spin on it. So I said, who would you not? And then I had trouble. I was like, well, at first I was like, I can't pick one. And then I was like, no, I don't even know. So what I came up with is probably subpar, but a salesman, because I have no desire to sell anything to anyone, unless it's like getting rid of my shit, like in the basement or whatever, like old stuff. That's mostly because I want to get rid of it and get rewarded for getting rid of it immediately. I have no desire to do anything based on a commission for anyone ever. And the thought of it gives me nightmares. And I tried it out once. Do you guys remember I worked at an audio visual place? The one that has done the sound and stuff for the Laurel Hill shows. Ken is great. He really wanted to make sure I was employed, and he didn't have enough room for techs at one point. So he was like, do you want to be a salesman? And I was like, ah. And I tried. It was horrible. I was calling people and I was like, do you have any need for like audio visual? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, bye. And he'd be like, no, I got off the phone so quickly. And you gotta try to talk to them. He's like, when they say maybe, that's a yes. And I was like, I don't know if that works. And then he would leave the office and I just wouldn't make any calls. Hopefully he's not watching this, but anyway, I would like to add to that I give kudos to anybody who is able to do that job, and anybody that like feeds their family off of commission, because that thought scares me. I worked at Blockbuster and they would be like, oh, try to sell, or try to get somebody to rent a different movie on top of this, like suggestive sell and like add to it. I couldn't do it. I would even tell people, they're like, what'd you think of this movie? I was like, oh, they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to get it then. My boss is like, tell him you liked it. I was like, I didn't. So that, yeah, I don't know. Salesman. So not for me, but good job, anyone who's able to do it.
And I also have a lot of respect for Geddy Lee, who said, salesman. Yeah, I couldn't even, I understand that, because even at McDonald's, I couldn't push the hot apple pies and make sure you say, have you tried our delicious hot apple pie? No, that is, I have no salesman skills, Dan. I'm with you on that one. That like working retail, because people are quitting retail en masse now, totally. And I totally understand that. I could not, that's a job I could not do.
And it's funny because I consider myself a personable person. And maybe that's why I don't want to, because I can't lie to people like that. I feel like it's lies. I don't know. So that's my answer.
Okay. Dan, this was a tough one for me. And, I can potentially think of plenty of admirable people out there who are maybe in some really nasty situations that I would not want to trade places with. But I went even darker than that. And I want to warn everybody about the picture you're about to see. I would not like to trade places with the guy who likes to take baths in septic tanks.
What?
Have you guys seen this story? It's been around for a while. I mean,
I knew there used to be a guy who used to lurk in the toilets in public parks and would look up and they would catch him every now and then.
No, there's a picture and we can post a link to a video. There's a guy, and I don't know how true it is. Okay, so maybe it's all made up, but it looks pretty authentic. There's a guy out there, or there was a guy out there who would pay you to get into your septic tank and he would take a bath in it.
Oh, like there's an old Saturday Live sketch called the Muck Jumper. That may be what they based it on, or the Muck Diver, where these people are like muck divers up the road, and he says for like 50 cents. So if So he may have seen the sketch and gotten the idea, but I need to learn more about this. Tell us more.
Well, there's a picture which will show on the screen right now, and then there's a video which we'll link to. There's a guy that likes to sit in a septic tank, and he wears like a giant rubber suit, and he just likes to luxuriate in a pool of shit, basically. He says it's very meditative and relaxing for him. Don't judge him, he says. So I would not like to be that guy, for one thing, which sort of ties in with the other idea that I had for the answer to this question, which is I would not like to trade places with Joe Biden because he's dealing with all the shit from the previous administration. So that's my answer to your question.
Which would you rather not do? The guy who goes out and does what was played by Gary Busey on Saturday Night Live, which is even scarier. The guy who does the muck diving, and lays in the thing, because you're pretty much your own boss. You make your own hours, or retail, or the sales thing. Which is worse?
I don't know. I mean, I've done retail. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world for me.
Okay, so you would actually then take muck diving over retail. I'm curious, Dan, which would you rather do, muck dive or the retail?
I mean, you had me at muck dive when it was put up against salesman. Yeah, I would do that. And I didn't realize at first that he had a rubber suit on. That changes.
Yeah, the rubber suit changes.
No.
You know the old joke where, the little kid accidentally pees on the guy and the guy goes, "Hey, if I knew you're into that, I would have worn my rubber suit." I misunderstood the question. I thought we had to name specific people. So get ready for law.
That was definitely an option, sure.
Here come the lawsuits. The first person I would not want to be is Melanie Martinez. She was a runner-up. For those of you who don't stay up all night consuming pointless media, Melanie Martinez lost 4 of her homes in hurricanes. If a major hurricane comes by where you are, you have a 94% chance of having your home not be seriously damaged. She lost 4 homes. Then when she had her 5th home, her luck actually changed. She won a makeover on one of those like home makeover shows. So they spent like several days working her home, and they put $20,000 worth of improvements into her new home, which was then destroyed by a hurricane. So she lost 5 homes to hurricanes. She's the runner-up, okay? Number 1, the person I would not want to be, I would not want to wake up every day and be this guy, is Kostas Mitsakis. That's his name, which is a rough point to begin with. But Mr. Mitsakis was a Greek guy who moved to a small town in Spain because he was in love with some woman, and that didn't work out. Now, people, if you're watching this and you move somewhere to be with someone and it doesn't work out, move the hell back to where you came from. Costas would be happier if he'd done that. So in Spain, they have a big national lottery called El Gordo, the fat one, and the prize is incredible. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. And so at this time, the prize was over $900 million. It was almost like $1 billion. It was like 975 million is what it worked out to. So a group of women in town, and it only has 50 people in this town that Costas lived in, they went around selling tickets. They bought a bunch of lottery tickets and they went out selling them. For charity. That's what they were going to raise money for. So they went from house to house. Costas lived just a little bit outside of town, and these old women kind of forgot about him. So everybody bought tickets except Costas. And as you can guess, they hit for that little village hit for the $975 million. And how much you got back depended on how many tickets you bought. So the least amount that anybody made was $130,000, but some people wound up making tens of millions of dollars. So everyone in the town, except for one guy, Costas, won the lottery and became super rich. And Costas has to wake up every day. He has to go in to buy his groceries. Everything he has to do in that town, he has to wake up knowing like, I could be super rich had they just come to my door. That for me is I seriously, I would do
Movie in there,
retail.
or maybe a pretty good TV show, actually. Like he
I
continues to live there and just.
You know what's going to happen? They're going to come to film the TV show, and they're going to like drop a boom mic on his head, or the lighting's going to fall. It's just that kind of bad luck.
Not reality show. It's got to be like, maybe in the future when people have forgotten about it.
That's true. Yeah, I just Costas, know that our heart goes out to you. I would probably rather do retail or swim around in somebody's sewage than be the guy who I would just wake up every day going like, just like, why me? Why? Which I do anyway. So it took me a while to find somebody who was more miserable than I am, but I did find two people. So good for me. All right, Joseph. Oh wait, Joseph, I got to ask you before we go on, which would you rather, out of these three things, okay, which would you least like to be? Would you least like to be Costas? Would you least like to work in retail, or would you least like to swim around in someone's septic tank in a rubber suit?
Swim around.
Yeah. Dean's winning this one. Swim around.
Yeah, I don't mind being Costas or retail or whatever. Okay. As loving and as well-meaning as they may be, I still would not like to trade places with any of the January 6th rioters or those people who stormed the Capitol.
They weren't loving or well-being.
They were traitors.
Yeah, they had shirts that said 6 million is not enough.
I think a lot of them were just duped into believing that they were doing the right thing and being patriots, when in fact they were being the opposite.
Idiots.
Because they thought that, the election was stolen from Donald Trump and communists were going to take over the country or whatever. But I wouldn't want to be them, because they're probably facing stiff jail times for one thing. And I'm sure some of them probably knew what was going on and still wanted to storm the Capitol anyway. But I think a lot of them were just duped. So I wouldn't want to be. I also wouldn't want to be any citizen of Afghanistan, when it looks like there's going to be a sectarian war there after not too long. So that my real answer, Dean took already, was Joe Biden. He was the single person I would not want to trade places with.
We should make the Capitol rioters swim around in septic tanks wearing rubber suits.
In general, I don't.
How many of them were arrested? How many people were arrested?
It's about 400, I think, at this point, but there's still a lot more of them out there. Yeah.
Are there some
one of them was just screaming in court today?
More severe punishments than others?
Yeah.
Like some people were more aggressive.
Well, I guess it depends on the situation.
You can't have a weapon in a federal building, right?
Yeah, I think the guy with the zip tie things is actually rolling on some other folks. So yeah, but I mean, some of these people are only looking at like 8 months.
I wouldn't want to trade places with any of the immunocompromised people right now.
Yeah.
And I think Joe Biden he's in a really tough spot, because here we are in the COVID pandemic, and it's not going away easily. And it's hard to convince a lot of people to be vaccinated when even the FDA hasn't officially approved the vaccine. So that adds to people's hesitancy. It's only emergency approval, but you have a risk analysis to do. Do you want to risk whatever's going to happen? I mean, I took the vaccine, and I'm fine right now.
The comment section is going to be a living hell this week. I'm not even going to look at the comment section. You libtard bastards!
You can't really force people to take it, especially if it's not under.
Those people who attacked the Capitol were patriots.
I wonder if he regrets not running.
Watching this, with the January 6th riot.
My father and my uncle were there. They're the same guy. You know what I mean? Like, no. There's going to be assholery galore in the comments.
If anybody personally know anybody who was there, I don't personally know anybody who was there.
No, they did catch a woman who lives in Central PA. This is my favorite one that got caught. She says that she owns a pizzeria in Central Pennsylvania, a part of Pennsylvania, and she said she can't be tried because she's an omnipotent being who can't be held to human law.
Well, if she owns a pizzeria, she's okay.
Yeah.
The pizza's pretty good there. I mean,
She could work in the prison cafeteria. It's, in the kitchen. Yeah, she'll be fine.
pizza's a vegetable. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not, I swear to God, somebody else look at the comments this week. I ain't doing it. I am not doing it. Everything was rolling along. We'll probably have people who like swimming in septic tanks yelling at you, Dean. God damn it. I'm a patriot. I love swimming in the septic tank. Stop trying to take my gun, my Jesus, and my septic tank. God, it's going to be horrible. I'm not looking at those comments. Look, can we do recommendations? So
Oh yeah, I would recommend it. I'd like to recommend a documentary that I watched on YouTube, but I believe it's available on Showtime. It's called Bipolar Rock and Roller, and it's about Mauro Ranallo, who was a back in the 80s was like a pro wrestling announcer, and who was also kind of involved in the wrestling at times. But the movie is about him discovering that he has bipolar disorder, and it shows old footage of him, and it talks, he's he's interviewed in it and talks in it a lot. But yeah, it was recommended to me by our friend Ben Kravitz before he passed, and because Ben and I both consider ourselves somewhat advocates for mental health, trying to educate people, and so yeah, it's a really, I have no interest in professional wrestling or any of that, but it was a really captivating documentary about this guy. So yeah, check it out.
This week, I would like to recommend a podcast, which I discovered. It might be on some other site, but I listened to it on SoundCloud. It's a podcast by someone who calls himself midierror, and he does interviews with musicians and people in the music business. I think midierror is an electronic musician. He's interviewed some people that I'm familiar with, like Dave Spears from Sonic State YouTube channel, and he interviewed Mylar Melodies, and he's got, I think there's over 50 interviews, and some of them are almost 2 hours long. They're very interesting, very comfortable conversations between two people about their background, their history. So check it out. The link will be down below to the midierror podcast.
Folks, we make a lot of jokes. We have a lot of fun, make a lot of jokes on this show. But one thing we don't joke about is the career of the late G.G. Allin. In the last episode, we mentioned G.G., and it got me thinking afterwards. If I had a child, I'd rather my child listen to G.G. Allin than Maroon 5. And then I started thinking, whenever a parent group get together, they're always protesting things I love. They're always protesting against sex in music, or Satanism in music, or violence in music. These are the three pillars of my existence, people. They're never protesting against boring music. And that's why I am proud to launch the PMRC. Parents Must Reward Cursing. This is a parental group. Now, I'm not a parent, but we do have two parents on board. This is a parental group that gets together to fight, will get together, if I can get this thing going, will get together to fight boring music. They'll be out there, they'll be picketing the Dave Matthews Band, they'll be picketing Coldplay. They might as well just surround Williamsburg and picket all Williamsburg. Picket Pitchfork, people. Those are the people who convinced millennials that Fleetwood Mac were exciting and interesting. All right, it's Pitchfork's hurting your children. And, Little Nas X is not hurting your children. So that is, and I also, while I'm doing this, I want to make an appeal to some celebrities or music icons like Sting and Bob Dylan, if those are your real names, which they're not. Here's your chance to pitch in and do something. opening acts, all right? Think about like the Genitorturers or the Lords of Acid. I don't want to go see Bob Dylan, but if I knew the Genitorturers were opening for Bob Dylan, I would be there. Bruce Springsteen, you should have a bill, King Diamond headlines, you open, call it The King and the Boss, right there. I will go, and I'll have to sit through your act, Springsteen, in order to see King Diamond, who I want to see. So I would recommend you do that. Britney Spears, if you're watching, and there's a pretty good chance that you are, Britney, you should cover, this is a Gigi Allen song, Suck My Ass, It Smells. And the reason you should do this is you can't get in any more trouble than you're already in. What are they going to do? Put you under conservatorship? You already are. So yeah, those are my suggestions. And one last one. It's not going to kill you people to go out and protest a movie because it doesn't have nudity in it. All right. So this film is too darn clean. Back in the pre-COVID, pre-pandemic days, I used to go and audition for a lot of parts. And like the first or second thing I would say is, hey, I'm willing to hang dong. I am totally willing to hang dong. And they would say, well, sir, it's not that kind of movie. And I would say, well, not yet. And then they would always say something like, oh, well, you're not right for the part, or we've got somebody else in mind, or you can't act. Yeah. So I'm just saying that, yeah, if you folks could do this for me, and don't forget the PMRC, Parents Must Reward Cursing. Thank you. I took up too much time with that.
All right. I'd like to recommend a documentary about music that is not boring at all. Although I do occasionally enjoy the boring music every now and then myself. And it's called excuse me, Summer of Soul. And it is about the 3rd annual Harlem Cultural Festival, which was filmed in its entirety back in 1969. And it's interspersed, the performances are there, interspersed with interviews with the artists and also with people who attended, like modern day interviews with them, looking back on it. And there's also interesting little anecdotes about some of the bands. It includes a Fifth Dimension, one of my favorites from my childhood. Gladys Knight and the Pips, Stevie Wonder, Sly and the Family Stone, Staple Singers, Max Roach, Nina Simone, and many, many others. And it's on Hulu. I recommend it.
Sounds a lot better than Woodstock. I'm going to put that out there. Yeah. Woodstock had Sha Na Na, and that's about all I can say to recommend it.
Yeah, it's definitely better than the Woodstock movie.
They should use your quote on it. Joe Jack definitely better than Woodstock.
It's better than the Sgt. Pepper movie, though.
Oh, is it better? Yes, it's better than this. It's better than the Sgt. Pepper movie. It's not making me lose sleep, I don't think.
Speaking of comments, in the comments, somebody just put recently, you should call the new album Sgt. Pepper 2. And somebody else put underneath that, the peppering. And I thought that was cheating. Sgt. Pepper 2, the peppering.
Extra spicy.
Yeah, extra spicy.